Good afternoon, folks. We're back at you at Gloves Off, and today we have a special guest, Maha Guru Stevan Plinck. He's one of the leaders of Pencak Silat, or knowledgeable instructors in the United States. And Pencak Silat, Sara, is actually an Indonesian martial arts, and it's a rare system, but it's a very combative system for those that are looking for a little bit more of reality-based martial arts. Good afternoon, Maha Guru. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Paul. It's been a long time. How have you been?
I'm doing great. It's been about at least 5 years, no? 5, 6, no? About 5 years.
Don't remind me.
It's been a whole...
It's been so long. You need to look up again, you know?
We'll do it. We'll do it this year. We have to. It's been a long time, and it's always a pleasure to bring you down and train together because the cross training is beautiful. Let's touch base. Let's touch base on how you got involved with your martial art of Silat. How did it go about? Because a lot of people might have, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has a story how they got involved in whatever they got involved in. Mine was kind of different. In elementary school, I pissed off some sixth graders. I was a fourth grader at the time. Those are big kids. So,
right.
So I'm ditching them after school because I know they were going to try and catch up with me. And my grandmother was watching the house until my dad got home from work. So I thought I ditched them. And I got up to my door, and I turned around, and the guys were right there behind the bush. Obviously, they knew where I lived. So the leader of the pack just smacked me right in the face. My grandmother had the front door ajar. I slid in on my butt. My grandmother, she was all of 4'7". She looked down on me. She was really tall, and she said, "A de Jong never leaves his fight." That was her name, her married name. So she started showing me Suti Hati, which is a Javanese silat, an older silat. And the first things I learned at 9 was headbutt and elbow.
That's exactly right, because a headbutt and an elbow usually ends most fights. A lot of people do not train those, and when you see a system that does that, you know exactly right that the reality is right there. What else?
When you're 9, you aren't aware of these things. I mean, my grandmother showed me that, and at 9, believe it or not, you have a lot of biases. I had a lot of biases. I mean, I would rather have done the karate that was on TV at the time, because my bias was Indonesia. They have a martial art, really?
That's exactly right, and there's many martial arts from different parts of the world, and when you're growing up and you see your family training you, you kind of step back until later on it kind of hits you and exactly how effective those systems are. Tell us the difference between what she taught you and what got you involved with Sara, and how you got involved with Sara.
Well, this is how I got involved with Sara. There's a little backstory here. I mean, I met up with a Golden Glove boxer when I was 15, and I thought I knew what I was doing. Right? I was all that in the bucket of chicken. Well, this Golden Glove boxer clocked me so many times, my algebra book could not save me. So I wish I had a recording of what I shouldn't have done. Right? But anyway, at that point in time, I really took my training serious, and I looked up a gentleman that was known in the Dutch Indo community teaching Silat by the name of Guru Bazaar Arthur Remrath. He's still alive. So I studied with him for about 8 years.
And what kind of Silat was it? Because I know...
Excuse me?
What kind of Silat was that he taught you?
Well, believe it or not, he was actually a student of my last formal teacher, Dekar Paul de Tours, at the time. I was learning from him. But he also had Suti Hati, which my grandmother taught me some. And he also did combat judo, combat jiu-jitsu, which he learned in Indonesia. And he had a smidgen of a few other martial arts. I think he had some Chimande and some Mastika Kuitang and a couple of others. He just put it all together, kind of like an MMA style.
Good, good. Now you mentioned a couple of other arts in there. You know, when people say I do silat, they usually say I do chikalong and they do chimande. We do sera or harimau. What are the major differences, or that a person can see right away that if they're studying those or they're going to go into those systems?
Well, in general, the older systems aren't styles, they're actually systems, and they're pretty comprehensive. Suti Hati is pretty comprehensive. It has a whole accompaniment of all the tools you would need in a combative art.
Correct.
If you go to different parts of Indonesia, you will have different stylizations. Excuse us, we have a dog in the room. Such as for Chimande, there's a lot of hitting involved, which is West Javanese silat. West Javanese silat Chikalong, which is very similar, they have common roots, is more of a softer style. Not that they don't get hard, but it's more of a softer receiving style, kind of like what Tai Chi would be.
Okay.
And Harimau, which comes from Sumatra, is a leg-based system, so they're really low and squat to the ground. But any good systems, old silat system, will have all those attributes.
Correct. And tell me a little bit when you train with Pendeka or Paul Detour. It is said that the Detours brought silat to the United States. How true is that?
It is fair. It's fairly accurate to state that. Excuse me. There may have been a few gentlemen prior to him who have kept silent up to now. I've researched a lot of the Dutch Indonesian history, and he seems to be one of the first ones to have come here and disseminated the art of Pugil and Pencak silat in general.
Okay. So, what was it like to train with him?
You know,
Go ahead,
Paul.
No,
I want you to finish your question.
You know, because we met through his brother, Mahaguru Victor Detour, and also uncle. So we met a long time ago. It must have been about 15, 17 years ago, more likely. And they were a little bit different. You know, I really never trained with your instructor because he was just in the background, said hi, and then left. And then that was all we ever saw, all that I ever saw of him. So what was it like? Because I know a lot of people trained with him.
He definitely was a master's master.
Okay.
He really understood his art to the point to where he stylized. And so he was very, very good, very efficient, a very kind man, but very deadly. Very, very good. I prayed for 5 years when I was with Guru Besar Arthur Renraff that I would meet somebody that would give me the old way of teaching. Because it seemed even back then there was already the combining of systems and borrowing a little bit of this, borrowing a little bit of that without having the foundation. And I believe that cross-training is good, but you do need a foundation. And if you don't have a foundation, and all you're doing is cross-training, then that's all you're doing is cross-training.
Yes, so cross-training, it can build on a person if he's a natural, but it doesn't take you with any foundation, really. You know, you can learn how to throw a punch. You can make that punch go faster, but the tactics of how to throw a punch is really what you need through your basics, and that's what a lot of people do not see. You know, and you can get for example, I'm going to take it off a little bit. You can get a boxer that goes into the school, into a boxing gym, can hit the bag very hard, solid. He's quick, and you have a coach that really doesn't tell him how to use it. The kid's probably going to go far as a regional athlete. Then all of a sudden he turns pro, and then he realizes that, wait a minute, I need actual technique and tactics, and that's where the instructor comes in. You know, the professors come in, and that's exactly what you're saying. You know, you can cross train all you want, but if you do not have the basics, all you're doing is just cross training.
Yes, I firmly believe that. And so after 5 years of prayer, God answered my prayer. I met my teacher's teacher, Cadet Paul Detoires, and the first thing he did was he swept me on the floor. I'm on my back, and I looking up at him, and I said, "Thank you, Lord." So that started my training with Cadet Paul. And you know what? By that time, I was already in Silat for many, many years, and he asked me to show him what I knew. So on a platform, I started doing my stuff. Halfway through it, and I'm giving it 110%. He looks at me and he goes, "Steven." And I look at him and he puts both thumbs down. And it's like I swallowed my brain and it went down to my belly. I just looked at him and I said, okay. So I started over at that point. And I'm thankful I did, because he gave me a good foundation, and that's what I need.
That's exactly the way it is. And sometimes when the student is ready, the master shows up, and that, I believe, is true. And you always need that one person that's going to correct yourself, because sometimes we end up becoming the instructor, and we end up becoming the teacher, and people start looking up towards us, as per se. And you end up finding out later on, I'm doing mistakes. There's nobody there to correct me. And when that happens, you have to look to others to correct you in that sense of the way. And that's the way it is, you know. I look up to you in that sense, okay? Because you're the one that tells me, "Hey, Paul, you're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong." And it's not really Silat, because I really don't practice Silat. You know, I'm doing something else. And you come in there and you say, "Hey, get back to your basics. Whatever they, you know, what they taught you, get back to them." And I thank you for that. That is the truth. Let's touch a little bit a little different, in a different format. Has Silat been used in our service, armed services now? Have our special forces used it? You know, you had that one movie. What was it called? And they used Kali. They used that Soya Kali. What was it? The Hunted. But do the special forces train in Silat?
I think, well, there is no real, in other words, look, everybody has their choice once you're in that field to take up what you want to supplement your training. I'm sure they have their own general combatives, but
Correct.
People that are of a higher tier will always supplement their training. So as far as Silat is concerned, I still think it's not as pervasive as it should be. I think that's because there aren't all that many Silat players. There are a few around that I know, but not many. And most of them aren't affiliated or associated in any way with the military branches.
Correct.
So,
and you yourself in the military, correct?
Yes. I was in the U.S. Army, and I went through Special Forces training. I didn't make it a career. I wanted the information that they were teaching me. I wanted the skills. So I was with the Army for about 8 years. I got out. And I've been pursuing my martial art ever since.
Well, thank you for your service, number one. And what are you doing now? I know that you opened up a school just recently, correct?
Yes, I have a local school. The reason why I opened up a local school is because I like hosting friends. And by the way, I'd like you to come down. I'd like to host you to do a workshop.
Well, it'll be my pleasure. We'll go out there and we'll train again. It'll be fun.
Yes.
And,
yes. And so I have a school, but I do have groups, pockets of Seurat students all over. I go to Europe once a year, in Italy, Finland, Sweden, and then I have groups across the country.
And right now you're in the Dallas area. Right now you're in the Dallas area, correct?
Yeah, now I'm Dallas Fort Worth with my good friend and knife maker, Jeff Crowder. And by the way, he's
a hell of a knife maker.
Oh,
he's
excellent.
a hell of a knife maker.
Excellent.
And
excellent.
now, what are you showing us now?
I would like to show you what he gifted me with. He gifted me with let me see if I can get this out a little bit. There you go. This is a Golok that he gave me. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
That's nice.
Talk
a little bit about the Golok.
Yeah, this is very light, very effective, perfect for what I do. And I have used and abused it, and it's holding up. It stays sharp. I mean, I have cut down 4 or 5 inch young trees, alder trees, pine trees, and in a few swipes they're gone. Unbelievable. I can't say enough praise for Jeff's knives.
They're excellent knives. Now, you said what you do. Elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, I have to elaborate then on what my system is. My system is called Seurat. It's a West Javanese system, but it incorporates, according to who you speak to, it can incorporate up to 6, 7 different arts. And it could quite possibly be. However, the foundation is only 3 arts. And mostly Chicano. Okay, so the Pendekar, or the founder of the system, Seurat, he was in the Chimandi lineage. And supposedly he was part of the Bedouin and he came down. I don't know, I can't substantiate that, but that's quite possible. He also was of the Chicalon lineage. And then a gentleman by the name of Masjid, who was already a bodyguard for a sultan. In order to be a bodyguard for a sultan, you had to be one bad dude. So he was already a badass.
That's exactly right.
From his reputation, he was going everywhere challenging, and he was never beat. He met Seurat, and he became a student, which is kind of incredible. Out of that synthesis of what he had, which was Sudanese martial art, but I believe it was Mina, because what my uncle taught me was very close and very fits in well with the foundation and everything. So basically, Seurat has Chikalong, Chimandi, and Minang. So what you have is you have the hitting, like Wing Chun. You would have the sensitivity and effect like Tai Chi, plus you have the force and the foundation like Okinawa Te. Try and imagine putting all those together.
Well, it's a great system. It's a great system, and it's what I see in the problem in the U.S. is folks do not want to stay long to train. People want a microwavable art. They want something that I'm going to go to a workshop and come out the best. That's not going to happen. Folks do not want to listen nowadays. You know, you get a lot of students that really do not want to pay attention to what you're correcting them on. They already know what they're doing, so they come in here with some type of belief that they already know, but they want to learn, but really they just want to show people what they've accumulated all along in their training. And when you'll find some good students out there, don't get me wrong, there's great students, and I've been blessed with many. And but mostly, a lot of folks that come in, they come in with this mentality of, I really need to train. I mean, can't you just show me 1-2 techniques and that's it? No, you really need to train. And in systems like Sarat, you need a lot of training. You need a lot of years in training. And the same thing with Savat and dance through Savat. You need a lot of years to get basics done. But once the basics are in, it's about 3 years basically. Once you get those foundations in, you can start building upon that. But to give a person 3 years digitally, it's kind of hard. But you do see them in the other systems. You know, you see them in the kick punch systems, like Taekwondo. You have great students that are going there. Their discipline is great, and then all of a sudden they just. But it's a different sense. It's not. How can I say? It's a sport mentality, not a reality base. Understand? I get you. Understand what I'm saying?
That's a big difference.
And in today's world, you have a lot of tactical arts which come up of age, and folks trying to make a buck, which is all right. People need to make a living. And you have this type of mentality, like I go there for a weekend and I come out and now I'm the expert. And that really gives systems that have been around for a long time a bad rap. And unfortunately, Silat has gotten that, you know. I remember talking with Uncle Bill DeTore one time, and he said, you know, Paul, when I first started teaching Silat, there were only a handful. And he goes, and I can count the true Silat players with both hands nowadays, but there's more Silat instructors that you can shake a stick to. And I said, yeah, you're right. You know, because
that's sad.
And it's sad, you know. And you have folks that have never trained in Silat but once, already commanding and taking it forward. But not only here. I've seen it in Europe. I've seen it in South America. And people that came out of Shotokan Karate now teaching Harimau and stuff like that, you know, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? But
yeah, anything for the almighty dollar, you know? Yeah, there's
exactly
right. A lot more people that don't know what they're doing. There's a lot more people.
Let's touch.
And I don't know. Pardon?
If folks, I'm going to give this out there. If folks want to call in, our number is 956-441-1040, and we'll answer some questions. And feel free, you know, that the number again is 956-441-1040, and you can talk with Maha Guru Stevan Plinck, myself, and we can just answer some questions if you have any. What do you see in the near future of the martial arts, because you've been around for a while? What do you see it's going, it's transversing, this MMA phenomena that's hit? You don't see that many folks doing Silat, you know. What do you think about all that?
Well, I definitely have some opinions about that. But I guess I'm allowed these opinions. I've been doing martial arts for 50 years now.
Correct.
I think that martial arts are getting to a point where you're going to have to be accountable for what you know. What I mean by that is, I think it's gotten a little bit more violent now than it has even 20 years ago, which to me means that you're going to have to prove who you are. If you say you are who you are, at some point in time, you're going to have to show somebody that you are. If you're a CPA, at some point in time, someone's going to see you do CPA. Or if you're a doctor, at some point in time, someone's going to see you. And so I think martial arts is getting to an accountability stage, which is good, because there are too many players out there who will never want to be accountable for what they teach. And a lot of what they're teaching can actually get their students killed.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. You know, there was a time frame where folks got tested, and believe me, I got tested in most of the places that I always went to. I was always shorter than everybody, built like a fire plug, you know, and folks would look at Savat like if it was some kind of BS. and then they'll realize something different. That always happened. Not only did it happen here, it happened in France. Being an American teaching a martial art in France that was from France, believe me, I got tested. Folks, I hear from my Sifu Keith C that at one particular time folks were tested not only in Hawaii, but when they came here against Kempo. He was a great Kempo man. I see what you're saying, that now folks you have to be able to back up your own words as per se. And
yes.
that's going to happen because you have a lot of 20-something-year-old guys that do MMA for 6, 9, 10 months, and they'll come into your school and they're going to try to test you out. And sometimes, well, guess what? Reality hits. And when reality strikes, a lot of these guys are not prepared for that. Or a lot of instructors are not prepared for that, And this is something that I've seen in the martial arts, and I can make that opinion because, again, like you said, I've been trained also for a while, as you well know. And is most of these guys that all of a sudden start becoming spiritual could never fight in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So now they become some kind of spiritual leader. Well, and they all of a sudden, you see them 10, 15 years ago training, and they were training people how to chop and kill and snap necks and pull out throats with their hands and all this kind of nonsense. Now they got a little bit older, and now all of a sudden, wait a minute, martial arts is not about combat. It's not about defending. It's not about striking somebody else. Martial arts is about spirituality, learning yourself, inner peace, and all this other stuff. Wait a minute. And you start seeing those instructors that start leaning to that are the actual ones that could never fight the way out of a wet paper bag. You get the guys that were bone rollers back then, like you and everybody else. They're still the same person. They'll drink a hot beer and won't complain. They'll drink a cold beer and they won't complain, and they'll just laugh it off and keep on moving. And that's, I guess, how can I put it? The shifting of the sands is leaving the reality players inside the little shifter. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the ways I could tell who's for real and who's not.
Yeah. If you don't have any pretense, you are who you are. To me, I've always laughed when I had a grown man come up to me and say, "I want to learn self-defense." I'd look at him and I'd go, "What, you're afraid of getting raped?" And he'd start laughing. I go, seriously, men need to learn how to fight. Women need self-defense. If you learn how to fight,
exactly
self-defense is a byproduct, but it's not the focus or the goal of a man.
That's exactly right. And through you and through others that I've been fortunate of training and cross-training and learning and looking up to as older brothers, it's kind of hard because, you come here to Savatan. Who else is there in Savatan? Me and the guys in California. Apart from that, there's nobody else. So I always looked at you as an older brother. Hey, Paul, do this or do that, or understand what I'm saying? And we would always laugh at that. And it's a great feeling to have. And what I'm trying to get at is folks come into the martial arts here, and especially here in the United States, and they come into a martial arts school, and they all want self-defense, but they do not want to learn how to fight. You need to learn how to fight. You just said it. Self-defense is a byproduct. My wife's from Brazil, and we're in Brazil, and I told my wife the other day, and she says, "Let's open up a school in Brazil. That's basically what we're going to end up doing." And I said, "Sure." And I've seen the spirit of those training over there. I would rather have one of them for 30 of mine. Okay? Any given day of the folks here in the United States, because here, they've been babysat. I don't know what's going on. It's a different mentality. Over there, like, okay, you mean I got a blister on my foot? Let's do it again. And here, it's kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I have to take off my shoes? I have to sweat? It's a different mentality. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, I have, and I have complained many a time. Real fighters are far and few between, and what I see, okay, I want to, and I'm not going to diss on MMA because I love the entertainment of MMA. I watch MMA all the time. But the people who seem to gravitate to MMA are young guys in general who have never had a mentor or a father image, and so they're trying to find out what it is to be a man, you know? And
you're absolutely correct. Exactly what you said.
Yeah, and so when people used to ask me, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to diss on MMA because I think I think it has its place. But in all honesty, the majority of young guys that go in there, they don't have a mooring. They don't have a spiritual, emotional, family foundation to start with. And so for them, at that stage, it turns out to be violence with a little bit of martial arts.
You're absolutely correct. There's nothing wrong with MMA. MMA is an excellent competitive sport. But what you're seeing now is how can I put it? When we were growing up, it was a different mentality, you know? You went into martial arts school and you had a discipline. You were disciplined, as per se. I see MMA schools, they go in there and they're disciplined at training, but they're lacking a discipline within their training. Understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. Their foundation of a martial art is not there. What I mean by that is, in martial arts, it is your goal to be the best that you can be. You don't compare yourself to anybody else. In MMA, it's to be the best. So it's more, I am going to crawl over you to be better than you. Whereas in traditional martial arts, is I'm just going to be the best that I can be.
Correct.
And so it's the difference. It's the difference in focus, and therefore it's still sport for that reason.
You're absolutely correct. I will take this as in a different field, in a different sense, because you said father figure, mentor, and so on and so forth. In martial arts, you have that, and sometimes, you know, I was mentored by Robert Paturel in France. You know, I was mentored by Keith C. in Kempo. But I'm going to take the Kempo side of things. All these first generation Kempo black belts under Ed Parker, they looked at him as a father figure. The second generations looked at him as a grandfather, older uncle kind of thing. And in CLAT you have that mentoring thing. But in MMA you don't. You have a come in here, hit the bag, and hit it harder, and let's get it going, and you see the natural survive instead of seeing the natural with tactics survive. Understand what I'm saying? Here's one.
I know exactly what I'm saying. Someone with talent will get further in MMA than someone who doesn't have talent.
Correct.
Whereas
but there's natural ability. Yeah. There's natural ability, and then there's folks that have talent, and those folks that have talent we're defining as a person that has basics, solid structure, and as well as a natural. A person that's just a natural just comes in there throwing and swinging away. And you see that. You see that with several of those fighters. You know, everybody talks about this upcoming fight, you know, McGregor against Floyd Mayweather. What do you think about that one? What do you think about that one?
I think it's really entertaining. I just found out, okay, with the DNA swipe that my sister did, that I'm 35% Irish. Okay, so so I enjoy the way McGregor acts, his antics and everything. That's all for money, right? I mean, I have to give him credit. He's going to make a big payday, you know.
He's going to make a big payday.
A big payday. But here you have really two different cultures fighting, and so whoever you affiliate, associate with more, you're going to be behind. Because in this day and age, you can have a heritage which is different than your culture, which is different than your allegiance.
Correct.
I'm Dutch Indonesian by culture, but my heritage, I find out now, is I have 35% Irish in me. I have 1 or 2% Black in me. I have Indonesian in me. And I thought, and I have a little Dutch, but I thought I had a lot more Dutch and German in me. I found out I have no German. Really strange, right? But my allegiance is I'm an American.
That's exactly right.
So here you have I'm an American, Mayweather's an American, so we have this allegiance going on, but I have my heritage on the other side, you know what I'm saying? And so it's really entertaining. It's entertaining to see this. I think that as far as the outcome, I think that MMA wins no matter what. I think that McGregor wins no matter what. I think that Mayweather has a 50-50 chance of winning and losing. What I mean by that is if he wins, he's got everything to gain. If he loses, then boxing loses, and so does he. So he has more in the pot than McGregor does. You understand? McGregor and MMA is going to win either way.
Correct.
Even if McGregor loses, all right,
MMA wins.
He still wins.
MMA wins.
Exactly. So in that respect, Mayweather has more to lose than McGregor does.
No, you're absolutely correct. Technically wise, I believe Mayweather will take him, but you're absolutely correct.
Yes, I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that. Technically wise, there's nobody better than Mayweather. So if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would bet on Mayweather. But as far as entertainment goes, I like what I see, and that's why.
It's fun. That's exactly what they're doing. It's money selling. They're selling it left and right, and MMA wins whichever route you go through, and it's great for that because you're going to have a lot more people flocking into both. I think both. Fields. You're going to see people now trying to take up boxing more, and you're going to see a lot more fighters of MMA going to true boxing gyms, if you get what I mean.
No, I know exactly.
I think that's what's going to happen. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot more of these fighters that are doing MMA realize, well, guess what? I really need to train in boxing and not just throw punches onto a bag. And that's what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, you know what? I just thought of it as cross-pollination.
Yeah.
In the 60s, I remember was which is better, karate or judo, or boxing or judo. You know what I'm saying? There was no cross-pollination. There was more, well, which is better? But then after the confrontation started cross-pollination. So this is the confrontational stage, but now there's going to be cross-pollination.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, and that's what happens. It's like in Brazil, you have a lot of these ultimate fighting in Brazil. In Brazil, the majority of them are capoeiras, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, going into the ring and doing a little bit of Thai boxing and battling it out. And guess what? It's bringing a lot of folks into the capoeira schools, and it's bringing a lot of folks into the Thai boxing schools now. And you start seeing those disciplines pick up because of the MMA scenario in Brazil. Hopefully now the boxing will benefit from this fight, and you'll start seeing a lot more folks start taking boxing seriously. And I think that's what's going to happen in this case, regardless of the outcome.
I've actually looked at boxing from a different light now, because analyzing the upcoming fight, I see the limits.
Yeah, so that's exactly what's going on. It's how can I put it? It's changing the views, and if we had a person from CLOT inside the MMA arena and all of a sudden start winning, you will see CLOT grow in a heartbeat, in a different format. You'll see a lot more people flock into the schools in there. Usually the people that flock into the CLOT schools are those that have come from the JKD training, Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's art. Those are the people that you see jumping into CLOT.
Yeah, I see that for...
You saw that for how long?
About 25, 30 years. I've seen the cross-pollination between the JKD and CLOT and Kali.
Yeah. To now that it's that cross-pollination has happened.
Yes. And introducing Gannon or something to my teacher and cross-pollination there. So, yeah, that's...
What do you see in the future? Go ahead.
What I see in the future, I see more of a confrontation for more cross-pollination. That's what I see.
Okay. Here's what we're going to do. Do you have anything further to say, Mahaguru?
Well, you cut it off, so I don't know whether you're listening to me all the way or not. But I think what I see in the future for Serato, for my...
Okay. We're losing you back and forth. I think it's a connection.
Yeah, right.
What I'll do is, yeah, we're losing the connection. I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to thank Jeff for producing those great knives. And we will need to do some training soon. We'll bring you down. We'll look at it, maybe how your schedule is for the near future, and we'll touch base. I want to thank you. Big hugs to both of you. And if there's anything else you want to say to the folks out there, feel free.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very, very much. I look forward to meeting up with you soon. And I just want to plug something for Jeff's knives here. This is a trainer.
That's a live blade.
This is a live blade, and all of this is sold through Tier Group. And he makes some of the best knives I've ever used.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And, Paul,
and Jeff, what's your Go ahead.
Paul, when we get together, I'm going to work on a project for strictly you and I, and Steve is going to be a frequent guy here, hopefully, and we're going to help you get into your war fork. We're going to make a custom war fork.
We have to, because that war fork is part of Savat, one of the arms out, and we have to make sure that some of the guys out here get them. You know what I mean? We need to do a little bit of shish kebabbing soon. And
there's a everyday carry that I make for Tier Group.
Pardon? Go ahead and show it if you have it.
That's an everyday carry that I make for Tier Group. And a lot of
that's awesome right there.
A lot of military, SEER instructors, special forces guys, under John sells to a lot of people. John Hurt, the Tier Group, and I introduced Steve to John, and they're both Special Forces brothers together. And I'm just grateful that these guys have me making knives, and I'm, training in my civilian life with them. And I'm so blessed in my life. I can't ask for anything better to do in my life is make custom knives, train with Tier Group and Steve, my mentors now. It's the best. And I've waited and prayed. I thought I knew Penchak Silat. I trained over 20 years worth, and I run into Steve like him. I prayed about it, and then I started over at the age of 47. Now I'm going to be 50, but I started over. I'm not a young kid, but if I can do it, I started over, and I am now learning Penchak Silat.
That's awesome. Awesome. Do you have a number if folks want to call you direct for those knives?
They could go to directly to the Tier Group website. Like 98% of my orders and knives are going to go there. And John's going to have a special page that's not just tier group knives, but specialty knives like these roll oaks and fighting knives and all these other kind of knives that we'll do short runs of will be on that page as well. And then people that I know very well and family, I'll still take care of them on the side. After I fill all my orders for tier group and I've caught up with them, I'll be able to work with guys like you and Guru Steve, Maha Guru Steve, and to select people. But it's a blessing, and I'm very grateful that I'm here with a very awesome man. He's a godly man, and I'm so grateful that this guy's in my life. I really am.
Okay. And I want to thank you both for having the time and coming on here and spreading a little bit of what you both do. Thank you again for doing what you do. Again, Maha Guru, we'll see you soon. Jeff, we'll see you soon as well.
Thank you, Paul.
Be safe. Stay safe.
Be safe.
You too. Take care.